Many familiar and some new faces from the private sector, the civil society, academia, and municipalities. We are very, very glad to have you with us today. My name is Marius Jedlička. I'm working with the Secretariat of the German Platform for the Reconstruction of Ukraine, and I have the honor to be your moderator today. This event is part of the German Platform for the Reconstruction of Ukraine. The platform is an initiative of the German government and brings together stakeholders based in Germany who are interested and active in the reconstruction of Ukraine or are planning to get involved in the reconstruction and recovery. The main objective of our platform is to make Germany's contribution to Ukraine's recovery more effective and sustainable through more exchange, information, and stronger networks among relevant stakeholders. Today, we would like to focus on the issue of social cohesion. Social cohesion is a multi-layered and complex topic. It deals with the social bonds between and within societal groups, but also between society and the state. Social cohesion contributes to a society's resilience against conflict and can facilitate conflict resolution and societal recovery, for example, in times of war. This is especially important in a country like Ukraine, where foreign aggression has been a true test of communities' resilience and ability to overcome. At the same time, the success of Ukrainian recovery and reconstruction may depend heavily on the ability to bring together different parts of society. Let's have a look at the agenda. We want, on the one hand, understand the big picture of social cohesion, but also understand how we can contribute on the practical level. First, we want to invest some time in networking and getting to know who's in the room and what exactly are the different stakeholders that are now joining the call. Afterwards, we are very happy to welcome Olena Silecka, the research lead at the Partnership Fund for Resilient Ukraine. She will provide us with insights into her research on the topic. Following her presentation, we will move into a discussion around the practical implementation of social cohesion projects. We'll have different practitioners giving insights into how their work relates to fostering social cohesion in Ukraine. We are glad to have with us today Help Age International, Johannita Foreign Assistance, and Robert Bosch Foundation. After these practical insights, we're invited to ask, we are rejoining a networking session to foster like the practical exchange among each other in small groups. If you have questions to our main speaker today, or if you want to contribute to the discussion, kindly share your question or your remark in the chat section. Usually it's on the right side, and we will come to the questions after the inputs. Anyway, so this might have felt harsh for some of you, which is good, since we are going to meet again in small groups on the very end of this event. And we might meet again at LinkedIn. My colleague Elisa is going to share a link to our LinkedIn group. So if you just started a wonderful conversation, feel free to continue this conversation. You find the contact details for most of the persons in our LinkedIn group. If you're not a member of the LinkedIn group, feel free to join. Since everybody might be back, I would like to ask our honored guest, Olena Silecka, to share some insights on social cohesion in Ukraine. Olena is the research lead at the Partnership Fund for Resilient Ukraine and a co-author of the latest report of the SHARP Index, a tool to measure social cohesion in Ukraine. Ms. Silecka, thank you so much for joining us, and you have the stage.
Thank you very much for actually inviting me and to present our results, and I'm really happy to do this with this audience. Please just a moment for sharing my screen. Can you see it?
Not, yeah, if you just started the full mode now. Yes, now it works. Thank you so much.
Great. So, hello again, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to participate on this session. It's a really great pleasure for me. Because as we discussed previously in our group, and one of us mentioned that Ukraine has experience. Unfortunately, it's not pleasant experience, but we have done a lot of research, and I mean all society in Ukraine, different companies and organizations have done tons of research on social cohesion as well. Let me please say some words at the beginning about our pay-per-view campaign, and it will be more easier for you to understand why I'm presenting this or that data and to discuss this further. Actually, the partnership fund for resilient Ukraine is founded by 8 countries. You can see their flags on the screen. Pay-per-view, we support liberated and frontline communities in their recovery needs through community engagement, and we address local government capacity gaps. And doing this, we are trying actually to strengthen Ukrainian resilience against Russia aggression. And research team of pay-per-view, and I'm presenting the research team of this organization. We conduct research to support the pay-per-view program in all our activities, design and implementation. And since our activities are tightly connected to recovery processes in communities, I would like to share some research findings on how residents of liberated communities understand and actually perceive what recovery is for them. Actually, there are 3 main dimensions. First is obvious physical, and physical recovery means for people a reconstruction of everything that was destroyed or damaged: housing, schools, roads, everything. And the point is here that people want to rebuild the country and their community, their settlement, even better than they were before the war. Actually, it's main point, and I will say more about this, but people in community, they're struggling to revitalize their settlements, their life. And going to the next second pillar, social and economic recovery. First of all, people mean a creation of conditions for residents to stay, and on one hand, and to another hand, to create conditions for people to return to their communities, to their settlements, and we mean the IDPs or people who fled Ukraine abroad. So restoration, also restoration of education system, of culture, all of these pillars are important people when they are thinking about social and economic recovery. Also, they are interested a lot in attracting investment to recovery process. And the second pillar is psychological, and it's really important because people need time for healing from effects of war, mentally healing, restoring emotional well-being from war trauma. And as for recovery understanding from government, both local and central government, actually this understanding of recovery is similar to Romada perceptions, and they are more focused on economic. If people think more about social, economic, and psychological aspects of recovery and physical, then local authorities, they more understand under recovery of economy recovery, revitalization. And we in our organization, in our company, we measure social resilience and social cohesion at 2 levels, community level and national level. When we measure social cohesion and social resilience at a community level, we conduct qualitative research in other types of communities. Mostly we conduct focus groups and IDPs interviews. Usually it is online format because of security reasons. And our qualitative research covers very different types of population and target audiences in formata. On formato levels and separate representatives of certain organizations or local authorities. As for national level, we have a quantitative research, and we conduct it overall Ukraine each year. It is a national-wide random sampling, and this research is representative of gender and age, and we conduct it on government control areas, of course, only. The method we used is telephone interviewing. We actually have had already 3 ways of this and hope to do it in the future. The name of this study is SHARP, as Maurice mentioned, and SHARP is a score-inspired holistic assessment of resilience of population. And this project was designed and deployed in 2022 by PFRU in cooperation with our partners, SEED, the USAID-funded GGS, TCA, and UNDP. And SHARP's analytical framework of social resilience is built upon the following pillars, and each of which is further operationalized. And we use these analytical framework not only in our quantitative survey, but also in our analytical qualitative research, kind of analytical framework or tool to conduct any kind of research in formulas. And first of all, you see that the first pillar is social cohesion. And social cohesion is composed of identification, confidence in institutions, in authorities, orientation for common good, action for common good, and we will talk more about this later. Also, the next pillar is security in different aspects of security. After that is infrastructure in the place of residence, meaning different aspects of living conditions in Romadas. Next is sustainable and involved management. It is about a perception of authorities. It is accountability of authorities, local corruption perception, and also existing of mechanism of civic engagement. And the last one is informational stability. So let's look at the social cohesion pillar in more detail. And here you see the results of the third wave of SHARP, and we conducted this way on February and March this year, 2022. And in 2024, social cohesion in Ukraine was measured at 6.2 score, and the scale is from 0 to 10. Identification composed of a sense of belonging to the country and pluralistic Ukrainian identity is the strongest domain of social cohesion in Ukraine, and its mean score is 8.7. It followed by orientation for common good and includes a sense of civic duty and social tolerance. The action for good, common good, came in third place with some gap. Community cooperation and civic engagement are elements of this domain. Confidence in institution or authorities in the same position as action for common goods with mean score 4.4. Actually, social cohesion has not experienced major changes since 2023, except for the downward trend in confidence in institutions, and mostly due to a decrease in trust in central institutions. And now, actually, you saw different pillars, elements of social cohesion, four at least, and elements of these pillars. And I hope that you will be interested in to know which of these elements contribute to social cohesion the most. And we can see these elements, influential elements, and the top of them are actually trust in local institutions, social tolerance, community cooperation, authorities, chaos, and trust in central institutions. This is actually top 5 of influential elements of social cohesion. You see that 3 of them actually compose the domain of confidence and authorities, which, as you saw on the previous slide, demonstrated the decrease. And I would like to repeat that trust in central institutions declined, while local institutions have a stable level of trust. Knowing this, it was important to understand for us, it was important, and we share these results, to understand actually what drives the trust in local and central authority, to know on which factors we can influence to get good results, to increase trust in local or central institutions. The biggest impact on trust in both central and local authorities comes from a perceived local corruption, accountability of authorities, and provision of services. As you saw previously, trust in local authorities is number one factor contributing to social cohesion. This is also driven by authorities' care. It is a more emotional indicator. It is about feeling people that authorities take care about their needs, they understand their needs, and they take into account people's needs during their process of decision making. And next important for trust in a local association driver is actually availability of civic engagement mechanism. It means that people need to have kind of a way in ways in which they can influence or communicate with a local institution, and it is very important for them to trust to this institution. As for trust in central institutions, we see that it is impacted by consumption of traditional media, TV first of all, then identity domain of social cohesion, and human security. We mentioned that community cooperation is also one of influential factors of social cohesion, and I would like to share with you some takeaways from our qualitative research of liberated communities. These are the strengths that we identified within the communities, and that could be leveraged when planning, programming, and interventions. First of all, it is the deep desire of people to revitalize their towns and villages, and I mentioned about this at the beginning of our presentation. Then people in Romadas, they are willing and they are ready to help each other, and they appreciate help from other residents of their Romadas. Also, we see that now our residents, people and communities, they have really great positive experience of self-organization during this period. And as consequences of this, we have a huge presence of civil society organizations and community activists and they took part in process of recovery in their Romadas. Also, there are some established forms of interaction and communication between residents and local government. We consider these factors like kind of foundations that help that help to grow community cooperation and social cohesion in Hromadas. As for other drivers of social cohesion, I would like to show you another top 5 drivers of social cohesion. Of course, it's accountability of authority, trust in police, perceived local corruption, trust in Ukrainian armed forces, civic engagement mechanism that we have already mentioned. And also, I would like to draw your attention on international assistance awareness. Despite of a low score, international assistance has a certain impact on social cohesion, and these numbers refer to national-wide sample through all Ukraine. But if we take oblasts that were affected, these numbers are higher, and correlation between international assistance awareness and social cohesion in those oblasts is actually high. And to demonstrate this, I would like to share again results of SHARP survey regarding international aid. And based on these results, we see that those people who reported that they received international assistance, they feel significantly more secure in terms of material and financial situation and health care provision. Additionally, they are more satisfied with the public institutions that we saw that very important to enforce and to contribute to social cohesion. Also, these people, those who received international assistance, they are more likely to mention a higher level of availability of civic engagement mechanisms and community cooperation. Actually, that all that I wanted to present to you, and kind of summarizing, I would like to share our main takeaways from our research. We see that social cohesion remains strong despite declining trust in central institutions, but local institutions have stable and moderate level of trust. The top 5 influential elements of social cohesion include trust in local and central authorities, believe that authorities care about people, social tolerance, and community cooperation. The biggest impact on trust in both central and local authorities comes from perceived local corruption, accountability of authorities, and provision of services. Trust in local authorities is also driven by authorities' care and availability of civil engagement mechanisms. Liberated communities already have certain foundations for successful participation in recovery processes and for social cohesion, like desire to restore their settlement better than it was before the war, mutual help between residents, a positive experience of self-organization and acting as civil society organization. And there are some established forms of interaction and ways of communication with the local authorities. And we saw that international assistance has a positive impact on people's economic security and health. And also in confidence in authorities. That is one of influential element of social cohesion to me. So I'm finished and I'm open to your questions, and I will be happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Elena. Are there any, or if there are any direct questions to Elena, feel free to post them in the chat and we will have a look at them. I see that already Susan Stewart posted a question regarding the difference in social cohesion across the different regions of the country. Susan, would you like to point out your question?
Sure. Thank you, Marius, and thank you, Elena, for the presentation. Yes, as I wrote into the chat, what would interest me would be whether social cohesion differs across the country. So regionally speaking, and in particular with regard to cleavages, do we see the cleavages within communities differing? I mean, in the front line and the liberated communities, do we see different cleavages developing than we see, say, in the center and the west of the country, further away from the fighting? Thanks.
Thank you for this question. It's really a great question. And interesting point is that this very high level of social cohesion that I mentioned, 6.2, is really high compared to other countries. And we see that there is no actually significant difference between regions. We have some not statistically significant, but a difference in frontline territories, and they showed not a significantly difference. Low 5.9, for example, it's very frontline areas, but overall the social cohesion is high across all of the country. From, as I mentioned, as the lowest is 5.9 and as the highest is 6.4. So the different drivers for social cohesion drives the different regions, but overall the level of social cohesion is high across all country.
Okay.
But probably I should add some point. I understand this question, and probably it's kind of surprise that yes, there is no significant difference across the country, but we actually observe a difference, for example, in trust in different authorities. We have a higher level of trust in local government in frontline areas, for example.
Okay, thank you, Elena. I know that in the Sharp report in the third wave of the Sharp report, there are some graphics regarding this question as well.
Absolutely.
I just posted the link to the study in the chat, and we will afterwards, I think tomorrow morning, we will share the presentation and the full report, so you can find a graphic regarding this question as well. I see someone raised her hand, but I can't read the name. So feel free to pose your question.
Hello, my name is Katya Pavlova.
Katya,
hello. Yeah, I haven't gone through the whole report yet, but my question is, did you also research the relations between Ukrainians living in the country and those who left abroad? And is it in general a subject of your research? Or if not, did you also see that people wanted to talk about the relations with the protection seekers or in general diaspora, etc.?
This research we don't cover Ukrainians who actually now live abroad, only population who live now in Ukraine and government control areas, and not those who live abroad. But we have in the report that Mario also mentioned, we have a separate section about IDPs. It means that we research really, we survey people who he forced to leave their settlements, and now they live in a different urban areas. And we investigated them, and we see some aspects of tension between host communities and IDPs, for example. And I should say that if we talk about these aspects, IDPs, I mean situation in Ukraine, we see that tension between host communities and IDPs increasing in Oblast, where we have increasing share of IDPs, and decreasing share of IDPs we observe. But in a total, the share of this tension is not very big, and and there is no any increase on these indicators. And as Marius said, thank you for this. You can see the whole results on this topic in the report, SHARP report on third way.
I understood that Katya also mentioned the connection to Ukrainians living abroad and the diaspora or the global Ukrainian community, which is not, as I understood, not covered by the SHARP report. But anyway, if there's anyone in this call who knows about a study on this, just post the link in the chat section or post it to our LinkedIn community, because this is a question that many people asked in the last meetings. So I think this question about the relation between the Ukrainians living in Ukraine and the global Ukrainian community is kind of a relevant question, but I have not spotted any scientific evidence on this. So if you know of any, just post it in the chat. We are very interested. I see that Marie-Karine is posting a question. Marie-Karine, would you like to introduce yourself and pose your question?
Hello, my name is Marie-Karine von Gumpenberg. I'm working for Partnership for Transparency Europe. This is an offspring of Transparency International, and we are focusing on assisting civil society in combating corruption. We have a small-scale project running in Odessa region where we monitor corruption in recovery at municipal level. So that's why I'm interested in the change of perception, because this is what we are discussing with our partners in Odessa on a daily level. So maybe you could shed some lights from your research in this regard.
You know, corruption was not the main topic of our research, so unfortunately I can't share any of this data with you.
But you said that the trust of the population is closely linked to the level of perceived corruption. That's what I understood.
Yes, you're right. Perceived corruption, and this indicator is kind of a composition index of 3 questions, and now we don't see any changes in it.
Okay, and there's also no differences in certain regions or more city, country level or something?
Let me check this point. I'm not ready just answer, okay? But I can share with Marius this data, and probably Marius will be able to send it to you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
I'm very able to do this. Thank you so much. I have a personal question. As I understood, the first wave of SHARP started in September 22. Do you have any evidence on the situation before, regarding social cohesion before February 2022? Because I think this would be very interesting question on the effect of the war, or the full-scale war on the social cohesion. And if you don't have any scientific evidence, what's your personal evaluation on that?
Actually, we have scientific evidence on this because I mentioned that SHARP is SCORE-inspired research, something like that. And the SCORE research is it's a very big project, and this project started, if I'm not mistaken, in 2021 or 2020. And our partners, UNDP, they are all UNDP, DGS, as I mentioned, our partners, they conducted this research before the war, and they are continuing to do this now. And we see a huge growth of social cohesion in 2022 compared to pre-war period. And I can share a link to SCORE research. And actually, the aim of SHARP, this research, was to support SCORE research because only SHARP was conducted in 2022, just after the full invasion began. And it wasn't a possibility to conduct SCORE data. And now we have very great situation when we have pre-war indicators, SCORE indicators. They are more or less similar with the indicators that we use in SHARP, so we can combine and understand this difference in social cohesion. And of course, there were a very huge increases of different elements of social cohesion in 2022.
Okay, thank you. I see that a representative of the city of Sindelfingen, Katarina Batisheva, wants to ask, if I understood it correctly, frontline Romadas have more trust in local authorities or on contrary, less trust in it? That's her question, and she needs to remain mute. So she asks if what's right. So do they have more trust or less trust?
They have more trust in local authorities.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and you can see this in the report as well.
Okay, so each of you know, if you want to have a closer look to the report, just check out the link. I posted it in the chat, and I will share it, or we will share it by mail, maybe tomorrow morning. Since we now have kind of the bigger picture, we would like to zoom in into some specific aspects of social cohesion, and we would like to shed some light to 3 practitioners with extensive experience in the field to share. And I first of all would like to invite Magdalena Kilving. Magdalena, you work with the Johanniter Foreign Assistance. Would you like to share some insights regarding your work with specific focus on the survivors of war-related and domestic violence? What do you do to support their reintegration into society?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, as you mentioned, I wanted to talk a bit more about a different level in terms of cohesion, because we have been talking about more of the institutional level. As with so many other aspects of life, the war has also a huge impact on the cohesion on the family level, particularly, of course, in the frontline areas, because there's a lot of tension and worries about safety, about property, livelihoods, which cause a lot of stress. And so families with husbands and fathers serving in the military, they are affected while the men are gone, but also when they come back, because there's a lot of change in the family dynamics. And unfortunately, as has been seen over the last 2 years, also a significant increase in domestic violence. And that is one of the aspects that Johanniter and our partners we work on. We have a Ukrainian partner organization, a faith-based one, which called Elios. They have a wide network all over the country, and we have started a program with them to support women and mothers who are survivors of domestic violence, but also war-related violence. The program offers the women and their children safe accommodation in women's shelters, and they are hosted in relatively calm areas, so far away from the front line in the western and central Ukraine. And the women and also the children, which is important, they receive professional psychological support, they receive medical services and legal assistance also for their cases. And they are very much supported in obtaining additional skills training and assistance in finding employment or starting small businesses, which relates to the second pillar that Olena presented in terms of education and skills and employment of women and so on. Elios has done a lot of work in women empowerment for many years, and they have a wide net of partners, and that also allows them to offer a very comprehensive support package to the women in the shelters, so that they can really restart their lives and integrate into the communities of their new living places. This current program that we're having with them is planned to reach over 1,700 women, but we have plans to scale it up because we have seen that there's an enormous need. And also we would like to broaden the program to include also psychosocial support services for veterans, so that would be able to help all the members of the affected families, not only the women, but also the men. Yes.
Thank
I'm
you
happy
so
to
much.
share more, but yes, just for now.
Thank you so much. There will be a further opportunity to share more. On the one hand, if there are any kind of a link to the project, or if you have any more information on the project, kindly feel free to share it in the chat so our other participants can find out more. And we will very happy to meet you in the next networking session to gain more insights. The next practitioner who is so friendly to share with us his experience is Konstantin Batrak, who is currently based in Dnipro. He's working for HelpAge and has a focus on older people. Konstantin, you have analyzed the factors that exclude older Ukrainians from community life, in particular, so those displaced due to the war. Please let us know more.
Guten Tag, schön dich zu sehen.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so good afternoon. My name is Konstantin Batrak. I'm Partnership Coordinator at HelpAge International Ukraine. I'm grateful for the opportunity to contribute to this important discussion on social cohesion during the Ukrainians' recovery. It's a very important topic, actually, because social cohesion is the red line in each of our projects with partners. Even if the social cohesion is partially absent in this project, in each project we are considering engagement of elderly people to the decision making. So HelpAge International envisions a world where every older person leads a dignified, healthy, and secure life. Our mission is to promote the well-being, rights, and inclusion of older people so that we can all enjoy a future free from poverty, inequality, and discrimination. So Ukraine, unfortunately, for now, has the highest percentage of older people affected by conflict globally. Supporting this vulnerable population is not only a moral obligation and humanitarian imperative, but also a strategic necessity for any sustainable recovery and reconstruction effort. Many older people have remained in the country, either in high-risk areas or displaced, making them an essential part of Ukrainian social fabric. Even before the war, older Ukrainians faced barriers to fully participating in community life due to age, mobility challenges, and social stigma. The war has magnified these challenges, disrupting their social connection and increasing their isolation. For Ukraine to rebuild inclusively, we must address these disruptions and ensure the rights and needs for our aging population are at the forefront of our recovery efforts. Inclusion of other people in the process is crucial. By helping them regain their sense of belonging and actively participate in community life, we can strengthen Ukraine's social cohesion, critical for long-term recovery. And HelpAge does lots of efforts in this area. At HelpAge International, we are addressing these challenges through immediate support and long-term empowerment. Our programs aim not only to meet the urgent needs of older people, but to empower them to engage and contribute to their communities. This aligns with our commitment to creating inclusive environments where older people are recognized, respected, and able to participate equally. Through our community workers and partnership, we support those with mobility challenges, especially in rural areas, helping them access essential services either at home or through our inclusive community spaces. These safe spaces serve as hubs where elder people can receive psychological support, reconnect with others, and even learn new skills. These initiatives are key to reducing the isolation caused by war, displacement, and long-standing social barriers. One example of fostering social cohesion comes from our work in Lviv, where older people displaced by the war are rebuilding their lives in unfamiliar communities. By organizing group activities in community centers and parks, we've seen them forge new friendship, rebuild social networks, and foster tolerance across generations. These efforts demonstrate that even in circumstances of war, social cohesion can be rebuilt and strengthened. Another example is Ivano-Frankivsk, where one of our 8 self-helping groups, working under the survival and community-led response approach, developed sports and cultural space for older people. This inclusive space allowed older individuals to engage in rehabilitation exercises, fitness classes, and cultural events, significantly reducing their isolation and improving their physical and mental health. These targeted interventions show how rebuilding social ties can have a profound impact. And we also working on the long-term impact. As we look ahead, HelpAge International's 2030 strategy focuses on ensuring that older people are treated with dignity and that their voices are heard. By advocating for policies that prioritize older people inclusion in decision-making processes, we are strengthening bonds across generation and laying the foundation for a society that is truly inclusive for all ages. We also are committed to working with governments and local actors to ensure that older people's rights are fully recognized in recovery efforts. This approach not only empowers older people, but also ensures that social cohesion is built on a foundation of inclusion, respect, and mutual support. In closing, for Ukraine to rebuild successfully, the voices of older people must be heard, and their active participation in community and national recovery efforts must be ensured. This will strengthen social cohesion and ensure that no one, especially those most affected by conflict, is left behind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Konstantin. I read your report, which is quite interesting, and I would kindly ask you to post it in this chat if you have access to the chat. If you don't have the access, kindly post it or post it to our LinkedIn community. Thank you so much. Last but not least, we have Julia Tech by uns. Julia is working with the Robert Bosch Foundation. The Robert Bosch Foundation scaled up their funding activities to Ukrainian NGOs massively. Julia, what role does social cohesion play in your foundation's work in Ukraine?
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Marius. My name is Julia. I'm a senior project manager at Robert Bosch Foundation, as you already said. And since the 1st of August, we have a new special division for the Ukraine, and I'm part of it. So what do we do? Our vision is our big vision is to strengthen social cohesion in Ukraine together with our partners. Because yes, we already learned this afternoon, the social cohesion of Ukrainian society plays a central role in the recovery process of the country, and we support selected projects of Ukrainian civil society actors. These are projects that advance the country's recovery process. We try to focus on selected issues like, we already heard about it, mental health and the cultural identity, big topics concerning the recovery process, and we try to get to know the green recovery process and what we can do therefore. And maybe I share just 3 little aspects of our approach that are particularly related to social cohesion. The first one is the participation. The participation is a very important aspect of all our funding projects. We want Ukrainian civil society actors are involved in the design and also in the implementation of the projects. But furthermore, we support the civil society's involvement, for example, in international discussions. So at the moment, we are focusing on the next URC, for example. So the second example concerning target groups are the veterans. So vulnerable groups are important target groups, of course. Elderly people we heard, but the veterans in particular for us. So I don't have to tell you, there are large numbers of men returning from the front, physical, mental issues, and this case will engage Ukrainian society in the medium term, health support, questions concerning employment, and so on. And we are funding a little project. It's called Vilno from Inshaus Vita. I can share the link with you afterwards. And the Vilno project helps veterans from the cultural and the educational sector to adapt and to, yes, to return to their professions. But secondly, they also try to create a scalable model of reintegration. So maybe we can adapt this model to other professional groups, so hopefully. And the second example is the cultural dimension. 2 weeks ago, I've been to Czernowitz and visited a literature festival. And our partner, Meridian, not only organizes this festival in Czernowitz, so they also take part in cultural events, lecture events in, for example, Odessa, Mykolaiv, Kherson. And in my opinion, it's a really urgent response to the need of civil society for community, dialogue, and cultural understanding. And furthermore, in times of war, culture is a medium of self-assertion, in my opinion. So, thanks, Marius.
Thank you so much, Julia. We are now about to come to the next program agenda slot. Anyway, we have learned that if we ask the question for feedback in the very end of the event, nobody answers the feedback link. So we kindly invite you to take your smartphone and scan the QR code that you just see on my screen. Don't start to fill it right now. You have plenty of time for this today or tomorrow. Just scan it, open it in your browser, and then answer it after the event. Okay, thank you. Before jumping to the networking session, I would kindly draw your attention to 2 events this week, like tomorrow, an event on Ukraine's energy security and the coming winter, and on the 1st of September, an event on funding opportunities for German civil society organizations that we do in close collaboration with Engagement Global. If you haven't joined our LinkedIn group yet, now is the perfect moment to do so. We have had a lot of feedback regarding our events yet, and the central element of most of the feedbacks is your amazing platform if it comes to networking, and please find ways to do networking online. So not only on the on-site events, but also on the online events. This is why we offer now a virtual way to keep on networking. As we already did in the beginning of the session, we will allocate those of you who want to stay for the networking to breakout rooms, and we invite you to talk about 2 questions. First, what insights did you gain from today's session? And what insights on social cohesion could you further reflect in your own work? We know that there are around 30 persons on this call, and there's a huge variety of actors from civil society, private sector, municipalities, and academia. And we think this might be a very, very interesting discussion if you stayed in the room. there won't be any end, so it's an open end. Just decide. We will shift you to these breakout sessions. Just get in touch, and you by yourself decide when the session is over. There won't be a general session after this. So most of you won't see my face again today. So thank you so much for joining, and enjoy the networking session afterwards. Over to you, Victor, who is going to start the networking sessions.